Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler? If you think old England's done, we are the boys who will stop your little game. We are the boys and we'll make you think again. So who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler? If you think old England's done. Mr. Brown goes off to town on the 821. But he comes home each evening and he's ready with his gun. So who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler? If you think old England's done. Dad's Army. And kind of relevant to what I'm going to talk about. Sort of relevant to a number of things. Relevant to dear old Brexit. Britain can take it. Britain had rationing in the war. Britain fought off those Germans and those Nazis. The best of the few, and by God, they were the best of the few. Yeah. The finest hour, all of that lot, we did it. Yeah. My own mother was machine gunned by a Nazi fighter on the way to work in central London. She worked for a man who was a solicitor. She was his typist. He was called, I believe, Mr. Hunter. She was going somewhere in central London. They were just kind of walking down the streets, and from above the buildings, there dives this Messerschmitt. I don't know if it's a Messerschmitt or not. And apparently my mother tells the story, and it's one of the best stories she ever told me, of sticking a shopping bag, I think it was a sort of wicker bag, over her head, and Mr. Hunter, or probably if you were East End or whatever, it'd be Mr. Hunter, yeah, pushing her down, and they take cover as a stream of these bullets. And this is my own mother, and I do not believe this was a lie, yeah? This is my own mother. A stream of these bullets, either side of them. What they do afterwards, got up, went into work. Have a cup of tea, mate. Cup of tea, Mrs. Cook. Miss Cook, rather, yeah. Cup of tea, Miss Cook. Have a cup of tea, right? Now, let me get all that out the way and lead up to what I really want to talk about, right? John McDonnell and Winston Churchill. Someone said, should I do that? A video on it. Well, I suppose some people might say, stupid boy. Stupid boy. Always reminds me of my father, who was ex-army. Yeah, should I do a video about it? Well, putting the shirt on made me think I should. Yeah. Why does somebody say something apparently about Churchill, and suddenly I think it makes us question his patriotism? Think it makes us question John McDonnell's patriotism. So if you question the great man, and yes, he was a great man, if you question him, not even really questioning his leadership in the war, but if you question him, somehow you're not patriotic. Interesting thought. The thrust of what I'm going to say is Churchill has to be judged by the standards of his time. I make no bones about it. Great war leader, of course. Tremendous orator. But also, while we remember that, let's not forget that he said of Mussolini, along the lines of, I can't give you the exact quote, if I were Italian, I would have joined you. Let's be quite clear about that, yeah? Churchill, of course, was a Tory. Old school Tory. Well, pretty much like they're all bloody old school Tories now. I don't think there's ever been a new school Tory. But he was a Tory, right? And underneath that was this desire for control, direction, and control over the means of production. Also control over the people via the means of the rich elite and the capitalist class. Here's another one that I think I kind of agree with MacDonald on. Let's not forget, however great a leader Churchill was, and please don't give me the or we'd all be speaking German now, because I was born in Germany and my mother was machine gunned by Germans, yeah? So don't give me the we'd all be speaking German by now. Don't start questioning my damn patriotism, because I'm going to tell you something else, yeah? Churchill certainly had things in him that I think may well have been anti-Semitic, let's use that. And as well as that anti-Semitic strain within him, there was this idea that, the kind of working class, there was a very strict social class then, and I think there still is now. Churchill was aristocracy, right at the top. I mean, I'm not saying don't go and look round Blenheim and everything. I've been and looked round Blenheim, it's brilliant. Seriously, go and visit Blenheim. In fact, if you want to come round Blenheim, drop me a comment and maybe we can go together. Let's go and look at Blenheim. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant, right? Let's read the history of Churchill as well. But as we read that history, let's say that he was an elitist. He was born into an upper class elite. He really wanted everyone in society, like most Tories now, to know their place. And don't forget, it's even in a film about him actually, that he sent in the army against the Welsh miners in Tonypandy. Now, whether or not they need a bayonet in their belly if they're hungry or whatever is true or not, I don't know. It's anecdotal. It may be true, it may not be true. But Churchill was prepared to defend the interests of the mine owners and their productivity. Now get this, when Churchill was growing up, in a life of luxury, yeah, he went and did his world tour and whatever, a bit like Lord Byron and most of them did in those days, and he lived in a few tents and whatever, but when he was growing up, he would have been born into a life of privilege and luxury. I don't think he had that much regard for ordinary people other than as a means to an end. Go on about him loving his country. Yes, by all means, I believe he did love his country, right? Go on about him defending his country. Yeah, by all means, he did. Go on about him leading a war against the fascists. Yes, he did. He certainly did. But don't let's gloss over any of this other stuff and make him some kind of absolutely unrivaled hero, a person of worship, somebody we virtually have to bow down to when you think of what he did in India. Yeah, and that's another fact. He engineered a famine, whatever Rees-Mogg might say, whatever dear old Bertie, and Bertie has been born into the ruling class, hasn't he? Bertie's been born to rule. Whatever Bertie might say, those people were not fed. He virtually engineered a famine. And what he said about Indians too. He regarded them as a lesser race. This kind of eugenic thing. Now great, brilliant with the old epigrams and the quip backs, but one I will mention. The one about poison, he says, lady apparently says to him, "If you were my husband, I would have given you poison." Churchill quips back, "And I, madam, would have drunk it." Great, practically bloody Oscar Wilde. Yeah, Oscar, you couldn't have done better, Oscar. You will, Oscar, you will. Old reference, someone will get it. Yeah. But he quips back with this, yeah. But what was he like as a man? The story always seems to be presented that he was hard, masculine, full of edge, full of determination. And that his wife, Clemmy, sort of appealed to the gentle side of him? I don't know that. I think he was probably like a lot of men born into that elite class. I think he was probably like a lot of them, and that may, perhaps now, be regarded as sexist. Probably was, even then, sexist, if judged by the standards of today. But what I want to say on this is, yeah, let's keep the thing in perspective. But please, even if you are into who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler, and even if you do want to use that as a way of getting nearer to Brexit and as a way of saying, doesn't matter, we'll all get ration cards, we'll all dig for victory, the wife here will have an allotment, and we'll take over Mr. Corbyn's allotment as well. Let's get the thing in perspective. He was no saint. And one final thing. One of the things he said was that history will say X, Y, and Z of me, and I know this for certain because I will write that history. Autobiography. There's lots of it on Churchill. He wrote loads of it himself. Yeah. Prolific writer. Bright man, great man. But not a bloody saint, and still a Tory.